Today, we will discuss the expectations and behaviours that defined a man as a gentleman during the Victorian era, as well as the conduct a true gentleman must exhibit to maintain that status. A gentleman, also known as a sir, was a wealthy man who didn't need to work for a living. He embodied noble ideals, being courteous, refined, intelligent, and altruistic. Hey guys! Welcome to Historical Gossip. In this channel, we do what humans have done best since we've evolved to be a super-aware being. Gossiping! The term gentleman was used in feudal society to refer to those of noble birth, the clergy of the Church of England, members of Parliament, army officers, and knights. A gentleman was noble in spirit, well-educated, dignified, gentle and charming, embodying chivalrous values and adhering to a moral code of conduct. Over time, the code of chivalry evolved to include education and etiquette seen as expressions of civilization. In the Victorian era, refinement, courtesy, and intelligence were no longer exclusive to the nobility by birth. Those who attained a certain position and had a good education were also considered gentlemen. One could be a gentleman by birth, meaning born into nobility or a good family, or a gentleman of worth, also known as a self-made gentleman, someone who achieved success and embodied civil values similar to the nobility. Regardless of class, any man could aspire to be a gentleman of worth, as long as he adhered to the established code of good manners, upheld honour, charity, and social responsibility. For Victorian middle-class individuals, good manners and etiquette became crucial as a way to distinguish themselves from lower classes. How did a gentleman live in the Victorian era? Typically, gentlemen were land administrators, owned stocks and bonds, and had active interests in industry. The minimum sum required to support a gentleman's needs was £1,000 per year, or the income generated from 1,000 acres of land. From childhood, these young men were trained for local responsibilities, serving as justices of the peace, members of territorial government, parish representatives, charity committees, and sometimes as officers in local military regiments. All of this was combined with various national social activities. Many became members of parliament, diplomats, government ministers, while others became company executives, scholars, and literary figures. Always at the side of a gentleman was his valet, a kind of knowledgeable personal servant. The valet assisted the master in dressing, a not so quick process considering that even Victorian gentlemen wore numerous garments such as undershirts, socks, underwear, garters, trousers, waistcoats, collars, cuffs, shirts, cufflinks, ties, pins, suspenders, etc. The gentleman had to present himself at his best, and the valet advising on the best combinations, putting on cufflinks, tying the tie, keeping his clothing clean and orderly, even ironing the shoelaces, combing his hair, shaving, and even assisting with bathing. When the newspaper arrived, the valet carefully ironed it to prevent fresh ink from staining the master's hands, but ensuring better adherence to the paper. The valet also had to stay well informed on current events and give the master a quick summary. Among his duties was also ensuring that the rest of the staff served his master well, tidying and cleaning his residence or cooking dishes to his liking. He travelled everywhere with his master, noting train schedules and guarding valuable items and cash. Abroad, the valet acted as a courier and interpreter, often having more knowledge of foreign customs than his master. The valet had to be ready at all times, waking up before his master and going to bed long after him. Away from home, he served at the table and took care of his master's firearm. Once the master was ready to leave, the valet handed him gloves, an essential accessory for a gentleman indicating his belonging to the upper class. When a man left home, he could instruct the valet for the day, specifying any requested foods, unexpected guests, the list of activities he would undertake during the day, and details about any maintenance to be done. it was not uncommon for a kind of friendship and camaraderie to develop between a gentleman and his valet. The gentleman's good manners included a commitment never to inflict pain on anyone, maintain a respectable and friendly reputation with those who knew him and his family. A gentleman made sure not to clash in opinions with others and tried to put the interlocutor at ease, regardless of who they were or how they behaved. Based on this conduct, we can outline 7 rules of a gentleman. 1. A gentleman avoids unnecessary criticism and does not mock the ignorance, defects or infirmities of others. He treats everyone with the same courtesy, preferring to speak only in praise. When disapproving of behaviour, he remains silent, believing that the absence of praise draws attention to the other's shortcomings, allowing them to take note without feeling offended. 2. A gentleman avoids vulgar language, considering it a sign of poor education that can negatively impact one's thinking. 3. A gentleman learns to control anger, managing passions and avoiding quarrels. To prevent anger, he refrains from spreading stories about others and avoids slander. Additionally, he is not tempted by curiosity about others' affairs or concerned about people's opinions of him. 4. A gentleman uses kind words, believing that kind words make himself and his interlocutors less prone to lose their composure. Kind words allow for a positive reflection. 5. A gentleman cultivates humility, refraining from talking too much about himself during conversations and not overly worrying about his dignity. He doesn't view others in ways that could lead to losing friends, making enemies, or fostering a spirit of unhappiness. Even if a victim of slander or gossip, he does not rush to defend his reputation. 6. A gentleman cultivates good manners, showing small attentions and sincere courtesy to the women of the family. He uses good table manners, eating slowly, paying attention to the conversation, and not finishing the meal too late to avoid keeping other diners waiting. When encountering someone shy, he tries to put them at ease with kindness and courtesy. 7. A gentleman is tolerant of foreign cultures, cultivating tolerance by travelling and expanding his experiences. He does not continually criticise his own or others' countries, but shows interest in the place's history, customs, and relates to different perspectives. As we have seen, the true gentleman was not a snobbish and selfish rich man, but through his means and education, he contributed to the improvement of society. On the other hand, the Victorian era was a highly contradictory period, and there were so-called men of good family who maintained respect and education only in appearance, but behaved very differently behind closed doors. It was believed that if a man lived as a gentleman, his departure caused regret. His memory was preserved, while a selfish man left no useful legacy and was forgotten as if he had never existed. And you guys? What are your thoughts on the gentleman of that time?